Good morning, Vietnam, and everywhere else. It is Friday, and I was going to do the show uh, in a fry voice. That's what the kids call it. That's when you go talk to somebody, and they talk like this. Oh my God! Could you imagine talking or listening to somebody who does this voice for an hour? Oh my God! I would put ice picks in my eyes, in my ears first. Miguel, you know what's up, baby? You know what's up, giggles. What's up, Miguel? Got Willie Bragg in the house. He's got another show tonight. Pretty sure, right, Willie? 7:30 Eastern on the YouTubers. Uh, got Ed Heller in the house and D from around the world and with D and friends. Uh, Good to see you. She gave me a shout out last night on her show, and I thought that was very sweet. So make sure you're subscribed to her, her and Doctor what's his face. Uh, I can't remember shit. Uh, uh, you know what I'm talking about. That guy talks like this. He's pretty cool. Oh yeah, what's his? So are you referring to the girl in the coffee shop? Yes. Yeah, the what was it? Yeah, the guy from Office Space who calls her out on her he's nobody talks like that. That's not your real voice. Yeah, I said as. No, it's not. Um Being a honky, you and having gray hair in the beard, not on top. Not yet. I'm trying to get this thing going. The chops, right? It's kind of like a Lemmy without the mustache. But I'm trying to get to Martin Van Buren status. He was one of our presidents. I don't know what the fuck he was. He could have been good. He could have been bad. I don't care. But those chops, look at those chops, baby. Holy crap. That's the goal. You don't know where the chops end. Oh, Joe Firestone, thank you. You don't know where the chops end and the hair begins. There you go. Martin Van Buren reference only on Morning Extra. So, good morning, everybody. We got a lot to get to. We're probably going to go over again. I'm just like a kid in a candy store. I get these stories keep popping up, and I got to get my hands on them so I can get them out hot, fresh to you. All right, so let's get started. There is, of course, a lot of craziness in the Middle East. I think that goes without saying. You've heard a lot about that on this show. But some of the Arab states are saying no to a U.S. plan to send peacekeepers, uh, as we check out Libertarian Institute. This is Kyle Anzalone. Arab states reject U.S. plan to send peacekeepers to Gaza. This is the King of Jordan over here, and this is like I don't know who this guy is. The Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in Amman. And it looks like they're about to tell secrets or make out. I don't know what's going on there. I don't care. Ain't my business. 3 Arab states approached by the U.S. about sending its soldiers to the Gaza Strip in a peacekeeping role were rejected. 2 other Muslim countries expressed interest in participating in the mission that would begin after Israel ends its onslaught. The Times of Israel reported that Jordan, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia, and if you've ever played Guitar Hero, it's not musical, but it's still a fun game. They refused U.S. requests to send peacekeepers to Gaza. One Arab official said that Amman, Doha, and Riyadh, the capitals of those countries, viewed the mission as, quote, protecting Israel from the Palestinians. Egypt and the United Arab Emirates, one day I'll say it right, have taken different positions and expressed a willingness to join such a mission. Dubai and Cairo's participation, however, is contingent upon Washington's involvement in any agreement between the Palestinians and Israelis. The White House has been seeking Arab countries to engage in a post-war peacekeeping force in the besieged enclave. Secretary of State Antony Blinken explained to the regional nations that the U.S. would establish and train the peacekeeping force. Sure. And who trained the U.S. forces? That would probably be the IDF. I know, protecting with, yeah. So, yeah, I think what he means by that, and let me just, yeah, they said, yeah, the U.S. is making it sound like they want to protect Israel from the Palestinians, and these three countries are like, what? You out your tree, bitch. Um, However, it's unclear if the plan will materialize as Israeli Prime Minister and just inhuman Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is actively undermining negotiations and has stated he is unwilling to sign on to any agreement that commits Tel Aviv to permanently end its war. Several top Israeli officials have called for the IDF to ethnically cleanse the Strip. Netanyahu has argued that Israel needs to eliminate Hamas's governing and military capabilities there, which apparently their governing and military capabilities include civilian men, women, and children, and infants. Don't forget those infants. They're very destructive to Israel. Although top Israeli intelligence and military officials have said that goal is impossible. Kissies! It does look like they're about to kiss. So yeah, that's what's going on over there. It's peace is going to be a long time coming. I believe, Miguel, you set it up here. He was talking about, as long as Z's remain in control, the government, nothing will fundamentally change. That's right. And he ain't talking about those Nital get your Z's either. Although I wish there was like some sort of Dayquil for those particular Z's that you could get rid of. But we'll have to wait on that. Meanwhile, the Houthis stopping their world tour to join the Axis of Resistance live in the attack on Israel. The Houthis want to respond to the Israeli bombing of Hodeidah. Yesterday, Houthi leader Abdul Malik al-Houthi. I got a problem with this. Why do you call themselves the Houthis and this guy's named Houthi? Unless everybody's named Houthi in the group, it's a little, it's a little too much. Vowed the Yemeni group will coordinate with the Axis of Resistance in an attack on Israel in response to Israeli escalations in the region. The Axis includes Iran, Hezbollah, Shia militias that operate in Iraq and Syria, and the Houthis, who are officially known as Ansar Allah. Right, the artist formerly known as Ansar Allah is the Houthis. Iran is vowing revenge for the Israeli killing of Hamas political chief Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, and Hezbollah is warning it will escalate in response to the Israeli airstrike that killed one of its top military commanders in Beirut. Al-Houthi said Ansar Allah would respond to the July 20th Israeli bombing of Yemen's Red Sea port of Hodeidah, which killed 6 people and caused about $20 million in damage. Israel launched the strikes after a Houthi drone hit Tel Aviv and killed 1 person. The inevitable response to the Israeli aggression that targeted the fuel tanks in Hodeidah port is a must, and it is coming, God willing, Al-Houthi said, according to Al-Mayadeen. Al-Houthi said the delay in the response from the Axis to the Israeli escalations was a tactical decision. We talked about that it's all part of the mind games, right? Israel's shitting their pants, and their allies are shitting their pants. When's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? The decision to respond is a collective decision across the entire axis and within each front independently, he said. The Houthi leader said there was a diplomatic push by the U.S., Europe, and some Arab countries to contain the response, but said Iran was undeterred, saying the matter touches upon the honor of the Islamic Republic by the killing of its guest in its capital. So the Houthis said, I'm in. We're ready to rock and roll. But that so the axis of resistance is starting to solidify over there. You got the Houthis and all those other countries we named, and Israel has shown that defensively they suck. Their Iron Dome is rust. The I believe Hezbollah showed the weaknesses of that system. So, and now you've got, there was a story, I didn't put this in, but they're sending more jets, F-22s, I think, or the U.S. is sending them over there in case Iran decides to go crazy. And speaking of the U.S., Captain Obvious here. This is from Middle East Eye. U.S. calls for zero tolerance of sexual abuse of Palestinians in Israeli detention facilities. Oh, wow, that's so. Yes, Mr. Captain Obvious there. After a leaked video showing detainee being sexually abused, U.S. State Department calls for a full investigation. A full investigation by who? Man boobs. Sorry, had to point that out. The U.S. State Department has called for a swift investigation into allegations of sexual abuse of Palestinian detainees by Israeli soldiers at the Yemen detention facility. State Department spokesperson and Stepford wife robot Matthew Miller said on Wednesday. There ought to be zero tolerance of any sexual abuse, rape, or any detainees, period, said Miller at a press briefing. Apparently, blowing children to smithereens is fine now. That's self-defense. If there are detainees who have been sexually assaulted, or raped, the government of Israel, the IDF, need to fully investigate those actions and hold anyone responsible accountable to the full extent of the law. Say, police yourselves, you rapey bastards. Miller's comments come after Israel's Channel 12 leaked a surveillance video showing Israeli prison guards at the controversial detention facility sexually abusing a blindfolded Palestinian detainee. Yoel Dongchen, the doctor who treated the prisoner, said he suffered from a, quote, a ruptured bowel, a severe injury to his anus place like last month, and led to the arrest of 10 soldiers, which led to a mob, including members of the Knesset, breaking into 2 military facilities to protest against the arrest of the soldiers. More than 4,000 Palestinians from Gaza have been detained at the prison by the Israeli military, often held with no charge or evidence of wrongdoing. Man boobs. Yeah, so that's very big of you, U.S., to call out the obvious there. Like I said, maybe genocide will be next, or maybe your APAC handlers won't let you say that yet. Meanwhile, there is an investigation going on with this video, but it's not what you think. So this is from Common Dreams, I believe. I believe so, yes. Israeli leaders demand probe of IDF rape video to find out who leaked it. That's what they do. That's what they investigate. Their State Department pinheads. This is what Israelis rioted to protect, what the Knesset debated, the right to rape Palestinians, said one critic. This is by Brett Wilkins. While human rights groups called for an investigation of a leaked recording apparently showing IDF forces gang raping a Palestinian detainee at the Yemen military base and detention center, Israeli leaders, including Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, that's not a real name, on Wednesday also furiously demanded a probe of the video. Probe, probably could have used a better word, not to seek justice for the victim, but rather to find and punish whoever leaked it. Smotrich took to social media Wednesday to call for an immediate criminal investigation to locate the leakers of the trending video that was intended to harm the reservists and that caused tremendous damage to Israel in the world, and to exhaust the full severity of the law against them. Caused tremendous damage to Israel in the world, right? Like the genocide wasn't bad enough, got to put on the raping prisoners as a topper there. Israeli media on Tuesday aired footage in which Israeli Defense Forces reservists are seen attacking a Palestinian man while trying to hide their actions with shields. And probably some of you have seen that video. I'm not going to show that video, but it's out there. Check your tweeters if you want to see it. It's disgusting. According to Israeli media reports, the victim was hospitalized with a severe anal injury, ruptured bowel, broken ribs, and lung damage. I don't care. Rumble's going to be Rumble, so fuck Rumble. So yeah, this is footage released of Israeli soldiers covering themselves with shields. And this is Samira Mohaiden on YouTube, so you can probably see it there. 9 alleged assailants, who include members of Force 100, the military unit tasked with guarding team of prisoners, were arrested last week in connection with the attack. Yeah, so that's it. That's Israel for you right there. This piece of shit, right? You got people defending rape, and then you got people saying, "Well, who leaked this? Who leaked this? Who made us look bad? You made you look bad. They didn't make you look bad." And of course, Israel's doubling down on being shitty in the world. Norway, their next target. So this is from the Cradle. Israel punishes Norwegian diplomats for recognition of Palestinian state. Israel's foreign ministry said on Thursday that Norway will pay a price for its anti-Israel conduct. Israel's foreign ministry announced on August 8th its decision to revoke the diplomatic permits of 8 Norwegian diplomats who are based in Tel Aviv and had dealings with the Palestinian Authority. The move is a response to the flurry of recent anti-Israel and unilateral steps taken by the government of Norway, including recognition of Palestinian statehood and severe comments by senior Norwegian officials. Norwegian officials have condemned massacres committed by Israel against civilians in Gaza. Severe comments. Norway's ambassador was summoned to the foreign ministry and told that the 8 diplomats would have their diplomatic accreditation revoked in 1 week and their visas revoked in 3 months. The ministry gave them the option of applying for new permits. There's a price for anti-Israeli conduct. Instead of fighting Palestinian terrorism after October 7th and supporting Israel's fight against the Iranian axis of evil, Norway chose to award the murderers and rapists of Hamas in the form of recognition of a Palestinian state, said Israeli foreign minister and piece of shit Israel Katz. The guy's name's Israel? God. Norway also joined the unfounded lawsuit against us at the ICC, Katz added. Norway conducts a unilateral policy on the Palestinian issue. Therefore, I ordered the termination of any representation toward the Palestinian Authority on behalf of Norwegian embassy in Israel. Those who attack us and conduct a unilateral policy against us will pay a price. Oh, pay a price, eh? They booted him out. Israel has also halted the transfer of PA tax revenues to Norway, which was part of an agreement reached earlier this year that Oslo would administer Palestinian funds to Ramallah. The finance ministry had been withholding these funds over claims that money earmarked for services in Gaza could be exploited by Hamas. Yeah, so Norway getting the boot out of Israel. Good on them, man. They're probably like, hey, man, I can't wait to get out of this shithole. But yeah, you tell the truth and you get the boot. Meanwhile, in Japan, today is the 79th anniversary of the U.S. Showing the world what a piece of shit it is by dropping an atomic bomb on Nagasaki. On the 6th, it was Hiroshima. And every year they commemorate these events with the ceremony, and usually ambassadors from around the world show up for this thing. But a little bit different this year. This is from Dave DeCamp over there at antiwar.com. U.S. ambassador boycotts Nagasaki A-bomb ceremony because Israel is not invited. Israeli officials have pointed to the U.S. nuclear bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki to justify the mass slaughter of Palestinians in Gaza. Really? U.S. Ambassador to Japan, Rahm Emanuel, fan favorite here in the city of Chicago, will boycott today's memorial service in Nagasaki because Israel was not invited to attend. Emanuel said the ceremony had been politicized by the decision not to invite Israel, but Russia and Belarus will also be excluded for the 3rd year in a row, a move supported by the U.S. So some politicized is okay. But when it comes to Israel, what you doing here? Envoys from the U.S., the U.K., Canada, France, Germany, Italy, and the European Union sent a letter to Nagasaki last month saying it would, quote, become difficult for us to have high-level participation if Israel wasn't invited. The envoys said the decision would equate Israel with Russia and Belarus. Well, that is not something you want to equate them with. The Nagasaki Mayor Shiro Suzuki stuck to his decision not to invite Israel despite the pressure. He said it was due to concerns that Israeli attendance could lead to demonstrators disrupting the ceremony. I will continue to persevere and ask for understanding of the decision as often as necessary. So it wasn't like a moral thing. It was more of like, we don't want crazy crowds here. So, don't get it twisted. It's not like he was like, I don't know who this Suzuki guy, this mayor is, but I'm pretty sure he's stuck under the thumb just like a lot of these like lower level people in office. He said he made the decision not for political reasons, but to ensure a smooth ceremony in a peaceful and solemn environment. Of course, yeah, it's a commemoration of the death of like thousands and thousands and thousands of people at the hands of the United States. And to not bring your ambassador, because of some petty shit, fuck off. Israel's ambassador to Japan was invited to Hiroshima's ceremony on Tuesday, which was attended by Emmanuel and other Western ambassadors. The ambassadors of the UK and these other countries here expected to boycott the ceremony today, sending lower-level representatives instead. If you ask me, they're the lower-level people. Not gonna, U.S. did this almost 80 years ago. You think you want to try and say you're sorry again? Probably not. Meanwhile, the OIC, which is the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, saying, they are totally blaming Israel for their Hamas chief Haniyeh's killing. So this from Al Jazeera. So OIC says Israel fully responsible. Statement by 57 nation bloc says it holds Israel, the illegal occupying power, fully responsible for the heinous attack. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation has blamed Israel for the attack that killed Hamas political chief last week in Iran, which has vowed to retaliate. A statement issued after an extraordinary meeting of the 57-member bloc on Wednesday in Saudi Arabia said it, quote, holds Israel, the illegal occupying power, fully responsible for this heinous attack, which it described as a serious infringement on Iran's sovereignty. The Gambia's foreign minister, Mamadou Tangara, whose country chairs IOC, said Haniyeh's heinous assassination and the ongoing war in Gaza could lead to a regional conflict. Some people are counting on that. The aggression and violation of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Islamic Republic of Iran by the assassination of a political leader on its soil is an act that cannot be viewed in isolation, Tangara said. This heinous act serves only to escalate the existing tensions, potentially leading to a wider conflict that can involve the entire region. Iran and Palestine had called for the OIC meeting in the Saudi coastal city of Jeddah. The bloc describes itself as a collective voice of the Muslim world. Host Saudi Arabia also said Haniyeh's assassination was a blatant violation of Iran's sovereignty. So yeah, pressure mounting on Israel worldwide as they keep doubling down with genocide and bombing these other territories like southern Lebanon. Meanwhile, here in the U.S., MIT got some good news from a U.S. judge. So this is from the Boston Globe, but paywall archive.is equals A-OK. U.S. judge dismisses suit claiming MIT ignored anti-Semitism on campus. But he lets stand a similar discrimination lawsuit filed by Harvard students. Harvard, yes, lovely. Federal judge has dismissed a class action lawsuit claiming the Massachusetts Institute of Technology reacted with, quote, deliberate indifference to anti-Semitism and discrimination on campus that created a climate of fear for Jewish and Israeli students. Far from sitting on its hands, MIT took steps to contain the escalating on-campus protests that, in some instances, posed a genuine threat to the welfare and safety of Jewish and Israeli students, who were at times personally victimized by the hostile demonstrators. U.S. District Judge Richard G. Stearns wrote in his ruling filed on July 30th. MIT officials did not immediately respond to a request for comment on Wednesday. Stearns on Tuesday let stand a similar discrimination lawsuit filed by Harvard students against the university's response to their concerns amid vociferous protests over the Israel-Hamas war. That lawsuit was filed against the Ivy League institution in January, ruling that university officials acted with deliberate indifference toward its Jewish population. Harvard students accused the university of selectively enforcing its anti-discrimination policies, ignoring Jewish students' pleas for protection, and hiring professors who supported anti-Semitic propaganda, according to the suit. Yes. So, and it really, that's the thing, you know, when people were talking about these federal judges that were rubber stamped under Trump by the Democrats, yes, the Democrats helped Trump a whole lot because they all work for the same team. Yeah, so more and more pressure is going to be is being put on, and that's the thing. It's unrelenting pressure too, which is great. You have these protests, and God love these kids, love them out there. You know, despite all the police brutality, despite all the people that are placed in these groups to cause trouble, they still are managing to get the word out worldwide. So. There's this, I don't know why people are wondering whether Kamala Harris, if she becomes president, would cut off a weapons transfer to Israel, right? But apparently she kind of made a hint at it and then quickly walked it back. So Harris advisor denies support for cutting off weapons transfer to Israel. What's up, Prop? Good to see you, bud. Harris has expressed greater sympathy for the suffering of Palestinians, but stopped short of arms embargo demands. Well, you know what? You know, I don't mean to be that guy, but, you know, if you stop the weapons, then that you probably stop the suffering of the Palestinians. You know, I'm no brain rocket science surgeon, but I would think that would be the case. Advisors close to Vice President Kamala Harris have denied that she expressed openness to cutting off arms transfers to Israel, a key demand of pro-Palestine groups looking for a sharp departure from the United States policy of support for the Israel's war in Gaza. In a social media post yesterday, Harris's national security advisor Phil Gordon disputed reports that the Democratic presidential candidate was receptive to calls for a weapons embargo. VP has been cleared. She will always ensure Israel is able to defend itself, quotes, against Iran and Iran-backed terrorist groups. She does not support an arms embargo on Israel. She will continue to work to protect civilians in Gaza and to uphold international humanitarian law. I believe rumors that Harris would consider an arms embargo emerged after she spoke briefly with activists from the Uncommitted Movement, a pro-Palestine group sharply critical of U.S. policy in Gaza. I see what you did there, Miguel. Using the Z and the 10. Very good. Very good. You'll do well once we need code words in the apocalypse. In a video posted to social media on Thursday, Layla Elabed, the co-founder of the Uncommitted Movement, said that Harris indicated she would be willing to meet with groups to discuss their demand for an end to U.S. arms transfers in Israel. I meet with community members in Michigan who are losing tens and hundreds of family members in Gaza. I asked Harris, will you meet with us to talk about an arms embargo? Elabad said, and Kamala Harris nodded. She agreed, yes, we will meet. Harris has sought to portray herself as empathetic to the plight of civilians in Gaza, where Israel's campaign has killed nearly 40,000 people and been accused of abuses such as torture by rights groups. Images of dead children and desperate, hungry people fleeing for safety, sometimes displaced for the second, third, and fourth time. We cannot look away in the face of these tragedies, Harris said after a meeting and probably a blowjob with Benjamin Netanyahu. We cannot allow ourselves to become numb to the suffering, and I will not be silent. Well, apparently you will be silent. And then she's at that rally where the pro-Palestinian people interrupt her, and she says something like, well, you know, you can either vote for Trump or listen to me or some shit like that. I'm telling you, man, she's worse than Biden. Like off-the-cuff stuff. Hoo-wee. She, if she doesn't have a teleprompter in front of her and she's got to go on her own, it's Cacklesaurus all day long. Meanwhile, Anarchy in the UK, good album, but is it real? This is from Vin News. UK authorities arrest citizen over social media post containing inaccurate information. Arrested. This is in the UK. UK authorities have arrested a 55-year-old woman in connection with a social media post deemed to contain inaccurate information and allegedly intended to stir up racial hatred. The arrest, reported by Sky News, is raising concerns about freedom of speech and the legal implications of online communication in the UK. So the incident. The woman, whose identity has not been disclosed, was taken into custody early yesterday, I believe. According to a statement by the police, she is suspected of publishing material designed to incite racial hatred and false communications under existing UK laws.
We have some breaking news now, and a woman has been arrested by Cheshire Police in relation to an inaccurate information on social media about the attacker in the Southport murders. It says a 55-year-old woman from near Chester was arrested earlier today, Thursday the 8th, of course, on suspicion of publishing written material to stir up racial hatred and false communications. She is currently being held in police custody. Chief Superintendent Alison Ross has also made a statement saying that this is in relation to a post which has been fueled by malicious and the protest rather has been fueled by malicious and inaccurate communications online. It is a stark reminder of the dangers of posting information on social media platforms without checking the accuracy. It's also a warning that we are all accountable for our actions.
1984. So yeah, the arrest underscores the UK's strict regulations on hate speech and online conduct. In recent years, there's been an increasing focus on combating misinformation and hate speech on social media, leading to several high-profile cases where individuals have faced legal consequences for their online activities, including what we were talking about on Wednesday, when the British police arrested a politician's spouse over a tweet. And as we told you, this is the wife of a UK councillor. She was indicted after calling on rioters to set up fire to migrant hotels. So they say you're not supposed to yell fire in a theater, but, you know, she took down the tweet immediately. It was one of those heat of the moment things. I can't attest to the woman's character, but, you know, I've said some pretty shitty things in the heat of anger, and probably shouldn't have posted it and deleted it quickly, but nothing like telling people to burn shit down. I always tell people to shut it down, not burn it down, because, you know, we probably need the shit. Good morning, Teresa. Good to see you over there on the Rockfins. If you're sorry, Rumble folks, you know, I don't know what's going on with Rumble. Rumble does this weird shit. It works sometimes it doesn't, and if they're going to try and take over YouTube, they need to fix their technical shit, because I'm not the only one I'm not the only one that's dealing with this bullshit either. Um, so with those riots over there, the UK Labour Party is keeping a lockdown on their peoples. It's from Middle East Eye. Far-right riots. UK Labour Party ordered MPs not to join anti-racist protests. Labour MP Clive Lewis, attended a demonstration in apparent defiance of the ban. Good for you, Clive. UK's ruling Labour Party allegedly ordered its MPs not to attend these demonstrations on Wednesday, according to journalist Owen Jones, Home Secretary Yvette Cooper, and Chief Whip, Alan Campbell. I wonder if he's a cool whip. Made the order via a virtual call on Wednesday morning. Jones is a former member of the party and was part of its left-wing faction before quitting because of Labour's centrist turn under Keir Starmer. On Wednesday morning, it was reported that police had intelligence of around 100 far-right demonstrations across Britain planned for the evening following a week of violent anti-Muslim and anti-immigrant riots. Ultimately, the rumored far-right mobilization failed to materialize. Instead, thousands of anti-racist protesters poured onto the streets in a show of defiance against the far right. So up to 25,000 turned out in cities across the country, in almost all cases outnumbering anti-immigration demonstrators. That's the thing. It's like, then you don't see the reports of that. All you hear is just like the anti-immigration people. You don't hear about these other protests that's going on. So there was talk of, like, you have these people spreading all this misinformation on social media and getting arrested. Misinformation. Who determines that, right? It turns out somebody not even in the country was trying to. Hey, what's up, Desert Man? It's good to see you. Guess who's stirring the shit in the UK? And it rhymes with Misrael. Israeli deputy mayor of Jerusalem accused of stoking race riots in the UK. Israeli settler Ari King has posted about the riots several times in recent days and peddled theories that Muslims are taking over. Of course. On Sunday, as anti-Muslim and racist mob attacks racked cities and towns across the UK, King posted a cartoon image showing a brown Muslim-looking man with a beard and skull cap embracing a white British police officer who has his arms around the Muslim. Together we will make this country yours, the speech bubble from the policeman said. Thank you for being so weak, the bubble for the Muslim read. Lee Harpin, a journalist at Jewish News, denounced the post as disgraceful. And this is what they were talking about right here. This piece of shit. Goodbye, England. Somehow has it in himself to suggest anti-Muslims riot in UK are some kind of Muslim plot, far-right narrative. Rabbi David Mason, executive director of the London-based refugee support organization HIS and JCOR, said this is just not real, and basically Islamophobia drawn from conspiracy theory. That it is coming from a deputy mayor of Jerusalem is shameful, but not surprising. British journalist Aaron Bastani remarked that if this was a Russian or Iranian account and official, it would be covered by the media as overseas disinformation, foreign intervention, etc. So more bullshit. Of course, we're gonna coming up in our propaganda watch. We got a doozy from the IDF. You're gonna love that one. Holy shnikes. As if UK doesn't have enough problems. Homelessness in this supposedly socialist country with social programs that we kind of admire, like the free healthcare. This is from Al Mayadeen. Homeless children surpass 150,000 homeless children in the UK in the most acute housing crisis. The number of homeless children in England currently exceeds the combined populations of places like Ipswich, Blackpool, and York. 150,000. Over 150,000 children in the UK are living in temporary housing due to a housing crisis, according to Housing Secretary Angela Rayner. The Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government on Thursday revealed official statistics indicating that as of March, over 150,000 children were residing in hostels or bed and breakfasts. In a statement, Rayner said, "We are facing the most acute housing crisis in living memory, and homelessness remains at record levels. This is nothing short of a national scandal," adding urgent action must be taken to fix this. According to Dave Robinson, Assistant Director of Operations at housing provider Riverside, the number of homeless children in England currently exceeds the combined populations of places like, it doesn't exceed the combined, but it's right up there with these big towns. According to the government stats, since the program's launch in 2004, there have been more homeless children living in temporary accommodations, but since March 2023, this number has climbed to 15%. Thousands of households with children have stayed in bed and breakfast for considerably longer than the 6 weeks that is the maximum duration allowed for families to stay there in an emergency. Polly Neat, CEO of housing charity Shelter, told the BBC that they are unable to put down any roots and spending months, if not years, living out of suitcases. So you thought the homeless crisis in America was bad, and it is. It is really bad. But 150,000 homeless kids. My God. How does, hey. Yeah, if you live in the UK, I am so sorry. I live in America, and so you'll probably say, yeah, I'm sorry for you too. But it just seems like both of our countries are on a downward spiral and not taking care of your children and allowing others to murder children. That's the wild thing. Teresa says 1 in 5 children in the U.S. and in the UK don't know where their next meal is coming from. Real meals are rare. Yeah. I had no idea that was happening till I read this news article. Meanwhile, doctors in Russia are being deliberately targeted by Ukrainian forces. Gee, I wonder where they learned that tactic from. This from RT. Ukrainian forces deliberately targeting doctors in Kursk region, according to the governor. A number of medics have been killed by Kiev's troops during the incursion into Russia's border area, acting regional head has said. This guy. He looks like he looks like he's about to sell me some insurance. Kiev's troops are deliberately targeting civilians and medics in their assault on Kursk region in Russia. Acting Governor Alexei Smirnovs told President Vladimir Putin on Thursday. Ukrainian forces invaded the border area of the region 2 days ago in a major cross-border raid. The Ukrainian military has been actively trying to impede the evacuation of civilians from the settlements near the border, Smirnov said, adding that Kiev's units were, quote, firing at civilians and ambulances. Exact same thing that's going on in Gaza. There are instances in which medics have died. According to the acting governor, the evacuation operation was launched as soon as Ukraine started its cross-border assault early on Tuesday. The Russian Defense Ministry then reported stalling the Ukrainian military's advance, with hostilities ongoing in some parts of the border area, including near the town of Sudza. The local authorities had to use armored cash in transit vehicles donated by banks to take people to safety, Smirnov also said. On Wednesday, officials also reported Ukrainian forces deliberately targeting an ambulance in an unmanned aerial vehicle attack. Ukrainian Nazis struck an ambulance with a drone near Sudza, the acting governor wrote on Telegram. A driver and a paramedic died and a doctor sustained injuries, he added, vowing that those behind the attack, whom he called terrorists, would be brought to justice. And I think those are the real terrorists, the ones that go after doctors, bomb schools, blow up kids. I don't care what you're defending. You're a fucking terrorist, dude. That's all there is to it. Hello. Getting kind of staying with I don't know. This is a very different thing. Let me get to this. So I don't know if you've been watching the Olympics. I don't watch the Olympics anymore. I watched it when I was a little kid. USA, USA, and now it just seems like I don't know. Although Gojira doing the opening ceremony of that with the that was pretty good. But is there a hypocrisy in the Olympics? Oh, Grey Poupon, but of course. Feud between global and U.S. anti-doping agencies escalates. It's another reason I don't watch the Olympics. Probably half of them are juiced, and I'd rather you might as well just have robots out there. The World Anti-Drug Administration and U.S. Anti-Doping Agency and U.S. Anti-Doping Agency have traded blame for cover-ups of violations by competitors. Look how fast they're going. Whoosh. The International Anti-Doping Agency and its national counterpart in the U.S. have accused each other of shielding cheating athletes from punishment. The escalation this week was triggered by an expose published by Reuters news agency on Wednesday. It focused on claims by WADA that the U.S. anti-doping agency, USADA, caught several athletes in performance-enhancing drug violations, but failed to enforce the rules, turning them into informants instead. Right? He said, you know what? You're not going to do any time for this, but we're going to need a favor from you. The two agencies are currently at loggerheads. I love that word, loggerheads, over American claims that WADA failed to punish 23 Chinese swimmers for allegedly taking a banned steroid during domestic competitions. The international body has accused USADA of overstepping its mandate and making claims that WADA president Witold Banka described as politically motivated. When asked by the news agency about the charges against the USADA chief executive Travis Tigert, called turning violators into informants an effective way to get at these bigger systemic problems, right? Because everybody loves a narc. Delicious narc. So that's one of the reasons why I don't watch the Olympics. Like half of them are juiced, and I don't really care. It's getting to the point where it's like wrestling at this point anyway. Turning here at home, we've been talking about veterans, and like we said, on November 11th is Veterans Day, and we hope to have a show that's going to actually help veterans with some information, how to get benefits, how to get health care if they need it, and so forth. And this is, what's wild here in Chicago, and it's probably a nationwide commercial, but they were talking about Camp Lejeune, right? This, I believe it is a Marine Corps base. Yeah. And poison water at the facility for years, for decades. So now they're at this is from Military Times. Camp Lejeune water survivors urged to file claim before the deadline. The Navy is advising veterans exposed to contaminated water aboard Marine Corps Base Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, to file their claim by the August 10th deadline, which is tomorrow. Today's the 9th. Veterans can go to this website here. I'll have this link in the description after the show too, to get the claims process started. This comes 2 years after President Biden signed into law the Honoring Our Promise to Address Comprehensive Toxins. Why do they come up with these fucking long-ass names? Act. The legislation, including the Camp Lejeune Justice Act, which allows those affected by toxic materials at the camp to sue the federal government for compensation. Let's see. The PACT Act also provides toxic exposure screenings and follow-up screenings to veterans enrolled in Department of Veteran Affairs healthcare. Service members affected by toxic water at Camp Lejeune between August 1st, 1953 and December 31st, 1987 are eligible to file a claim. Veterans and family members who were exposed to contaminated water at Camp Lejeune are 70% more likely to develop Parkinson's disease than any other service members, according to a study published in the Journal of American Medical Association, also known as JAMA, which sounds like a cool band, but it is not a cool band. I have seen JAMA in concert. Ugh. Wanted my money back. We got a couple here from Zero Hedge. This one's wild. This one came out yesterday, a little bit yesterday, today. So the attempted assassination on Donald Trump getting a lot of scrutiny. If you want to like a super deep dive, our buddy, the last Ryan Christian, the last American Vagabond, has a super deep dives on very JFK-esque expose on all the craziness and kookiness that was going on in Butler, Pennsylvania, at the attempted suicide here. But this is from a Butler cop right after he found out that once the shooting took off. He said, quote, "I fucking told them." Enraged Butler cop on body cam says he told Secret Service to cover warehouse used by the shooter, and they agreed, right? They basically, yeah it. So body cam footage from local Pennsylvania police revealed that in the moments after last month's attempted assassination on Donald Trump, an officer says he told the Secret Service to cover the warehouse used by shooter Thomas Matthew Crooks. Alleged shooter. I fucking told them, I know this is effing, but I'm going to say fucking. I fucking told them that they needed to post guys fucking over here. I told them that fucking Tuesday, said a Butler Township officer in audio captured by his body-worn camera and obtained by the Wall Street Journal. I talked to the Secret Service guys. They're like, yeah, no problem. We're going to post guys over there. Wink, 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 wink. The official continues. The footage paints a more complete picture of the anger and frustration moments after Thomas Matthew Crooks was able to fire, allegedly, 8 shots at the former president from an AR-style assault rifle. A spectator was killed, 2 others were injured, and Trump allegedly suffered a bullet wound to the ear. The Journal obtained the videos under a public records request Thursday. A police officer in one of the videos at one point refers to a suspicious individual who had been lost by authorities. The unidentified officer referred to, quote, a gentleman with a flat face that we were looking for earlier. He was creeping people out. Flat face. Wow. The officer's account, which was broadcast over radio channels, was captured by one of the body cameras. He was watching people out in the woods by the water tower. I'm not sure he is a gentleman down or not, the officer says. Around 10 minutes after the shooting, another officer says to a fellow officer, I thought you guys were on the roof. I thought it was you. I thought it was you. To which no can be heard in response. What the fuck? Why were they not on the roof? Why weren't we? The officer replies. So if you this is...
Command.
Is he down?
I don't know.
5036, go ahead.
I need 5036, 5030, start towards the farm
I
showground.
fucking told them they need to post the guys fucking over here. I told them that the Secret Service. I told them that fucking Tuesday. I told them to post fucking guys over here.
I just no contact with the inside.
What?
I thought you guys were on the roof.
No. We're inside.
Alpha 1, Bravo 1.
Yeah, so as the Epoch Times noted, the footage also shows the moment an officer with the Butler Township Police Department tried to get on the roof of a building where suspected gunman Crooks was perched. Another officer helped lift the responding officer to the roof after rally attendees alerted police that there was an individual on the roof near the rally where Trump was set to speak. And there's like 6 minutes of body cam footage there. In the clip, an officer is seen moving toward a building before another officer tries to hoist him on the roof. The officer is then seen trying to climb onto the building before he drops down. Only the officer's hands are seen as he tries to get onto the roof in the video, which does not show Crooks. Butler Township Police Department Lieutenant Matthew Pearson last month told a local Pennsylvania news outlet that the officer was not able to draw his firearm because he was holding onto the building. And Butler County Sheriff Michael Sloop told the New York Post last month that the officers who interrupted Crooks may have distracted the shooter before he shot at the former president, hitting him in the ear. If I'm interrupted and I move my gun, you're going to have to reassess the whole situation at this point. So, yes, you can make a case that those 2 officers saved the president's life, Sloop told the paper. Then he asked, can you imagine 10 seconds before that the president was looking straight ahead and where that bullet could have potentially landed? Yes. So the immigration lady with the stats saved his life, and apparently these guys saved their lives too. Yeah, so What's T-Lab saying? Are they saying that Trump is an outsider, is being taken out? No, I think he's just going, he was just kind of doing like a Oliver Stone, JFK kind of thing, like breaking down the logistics of who could have shot him. Maybe somebody was on the water tower to, you know, the grass, which is now the grassy knoll, the water tower, the unknown assailant, as it were. All that story was missing was a lady in a babushka, or a babushka lady like they had in the Zapruder film. So if you want to, you know, turning to more American stuff, housing prices are insane, right? Anybody who's tried to save up money for a down payment for a house is just kind of fooling themselves at this point. But, and all these properties being bought up by like all these corporations and stuff are driving up the housing prices as well. So again, from Zero Hedge, they have good business news over here. Value of U.S. housing hits record $50 trillion, up 7% in the past year, just in time for Fed rate cuts. I'm going to say a bunch of shit I probably don't understand, but hopefully it'll sound intelligent. The Fed's rate hikes were supposed to slow down the economy and, thanks to soaring interest rates, lower prices and make housing more affordable. That did not happen, and instead, housing is now the least affordable it has been in U.S. history. And while an entire generation of potential buyers will be forced to rent indefinitely, the flip side is that anyone who has been lucky enough to buy a house is celebrating on a day. Real estate brokerage Redfin reports that the total value of U.S. homes gained $3.1 trillion over the past 12 months to reach a record $49.6 trillion. In percentage terms, the total value of the U.S. housing market grew 6.6% year over year, laughing in the face of a Fed chair who kept on hiking rates in hopes of lowering prices. Zooming out further, the total value of U.S. homes has more than doubled in the past decade, probably more than doubled in the last 5 years, nearly climbing 120% from $22.7 trillion in June 2014. Yeah, so $50 trillion. Jesus H. That is a lot of popsicles. I don't, I'll never have a home. I'm 50 something years old. I'll never own a home. And for those who do own homes, hang on. Or at least, you know, before another housing bubble comes along. So we're updating Tropical Storm Debbie. You know, it crossed the Big Bend in Florida. You know, the northern part there, making its way from the Gulf to the Atlantic Ocean, and was sitting pretty and decided, well, I got to go back on land. So this is from NBC News. Think we can trust him with the weather. Well, unless you're talking about HARP. That's a rabbit hole. Tropical Storm Debbie made second landfall in the U.S. in South Carolina. The storm, which has dumped more than a foot of rain in parts of the South, first made landfall in the U.S. in Florida's Big Bend region on Monday. So here's an update on what's happening there.
After days of Debbie's deluge, widespread flooding, and whipping winds, in North Carolina, reported tornadoes spawned by the storm wreaking havoc overnight, destroying this middle school in Lucama and these nearby homes. 85-year-old Rudine Hawley's granddaughters say she was inside when the tornado tore through.
So where was your grandma in all of this?
She was in this bed right here.
She survived?
Yes.
Now they're trying to salvage what they can.
That's like my word of the day. Everything's overwhelming.
Their neighbor died after his home collapsed on top of him.
The emotional part will hit us a little later, but right now we're just trying to get the job done.
In North Carolina and Virginia, the threat of both tornadoes and flooding remains high. Priscilla Thompson is about 30 miles south of Fayetteville.
With nowhere to go, water is now gushing out of manholes, flooding roads, and now threatening homes.
Shivering in blankets, his 3 children describe their rescue from a creek in Raleigh as floodwaters rose.
It was very scary. It was just rushing on, and there were a bunch of sticks, and they were hitting us.
Further south, Bladenboro, reeling from the rush of rain the town couldn't handle.
It's very heartbreaking for these businesses that worked so hard and call this place home.
Tomorrow, flood risks and tornado threats continue, moving north from Virginia to Vermont. Remnants of Debbie should be arriving in New England by the weekend.
Lester Holt. I need to see Lester. Yeah, so, Willie, I know you're up in the North Carolina area. I hope everything was okay by you, since you're going to be streaming tonight. I guess everything is. So, yeah, that usually what happens. Makes its way up the East Coast and then kind of peters out once it gets to the Northeast. So, what's up, Choosy? Good to see you. And everyone else who's come in after that. On your way home from work this morning, I saw a car hit a brick wall on the highway. Jesus. I'm glad that wasn't you, brother. Yeah, so these hurricanes, some of them, like this one in particular, this was a slow moving one. It was just like grinding and churning and made its way across Florida, picked up a little more steam once it got in the Atlantic, and then up the East Coast it went. So hopefully everybody's safe. This season goes on through November, folks. It's all we're smack dab in the middle of it, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see more of the same. Okay, so back at Common Dreams, talking about weather and stuff. Hello. That was interesting. Highest ocean heat in 400 years poses existential threat to the Great Barrier Reef. So, Great Barrier Reef, if you don't know, is the world's largest living organism, if you will. It spans like about 1,500 miles in the northeastern part of Australia and home to several species of life there. In the absence of rapid, coordinated, ambitious global action to combat climate change, we will likely be witness to the demise of one of Earth's greatest natural wonders, the author of a study in Science wrote. The Great Barrier Reef recently experienced the highest ocean temperatures in at least 4 centuries and faces an existential threat due to repeated mass coral bleaching episodes, a study published in Science found. The network of coral reefs off Australia, the world's largest living structure, has faced 5 of the 6 hottest 3-month periods of average surface temperature ever recorded just since 2016, each of which was accompanied by devastating coral bleaching. Ocean temperatures around the reef reached a record-breaking extreme from January to March this year, with the 3-month mean temperature of 1.3 degrees Celsius higher than the previous 1900 average, according to the study authored by researchers based in Australia. The study includes climate modeling that attributes the temperatures to fossil fuel-driven carbon emissions and concludes that urgent climate action is needed. This attribution, together with the recent ocean temperature extremes, post-1900 warming trend, and observed mass coral bleaching, shows that the existential threat to the Great Barrier Reef ecosystem from anthropogenic climate change is now realized, the study says. So yeah, you couple that with that big-ass, the Thwaites ice sheet down in Antarctica that's ready to break off, this giant piece of ice the size of Florida. What's up, Global Solidarity? Good to see you. Oceans absorb 90% of heat produced. CO2 turns water acid and contributes to the death of coral. That's right. Yeah, and then you have the people worried about the Gulf Stream too. If that goes tits up, the Earth's fucked. It's you're gonna see all kinds of different and none of this bullshit like, how dare you Greta Thunberg bullshit, like real actual science. I'm sure carbon emissions are not helping with that fact, but you can't blame it totally on carbon emissions too. You can have that argument as much as you want. I'm just saying it's probably more Earth crazy shit going on than it is the man-made stuff. But like I said, the man-made stuff isn't doing anybody any favors either. Speaking of Australia, it looks like, with the Great Barrier Reef possibly going tits up. Now they have to worry about nuclear materials being stored in their country. Thanks, AUKUS. Who's AUKUS, you may be asking? Well, AUKUS greenlights provision of nuclear material to Australia. And AUKUS is Australia, the UK, and the United States. More like FUCUS, but you don't have. I think France was part of it, and it was called FAUKUS, and it sounded too much like FUCUS, so they left France off. AUKUS has signed off on a new agreement that enables the transfer of nuclear material to Australia, confirming continued communication exchange of sensitive information between pact countries. These assholes right here. Australia, United States, United Kingdom have closed a new agreement to cover the transfer of nuclear substances to Canberra under the AUKUS Pact. U.S. President Joe Biden requested that Congress on Wednesday transmit the text of the agreement for cooperation related to naval nuclear propulsion, indicating that the new agreement would allow continued trilateral communication and the exchange of confidential information. The agreement between the AUKUS countries for Australia to acquire nuclear-powered submarines follows a 2021 agreement on exchanging naval nuclear propulsion information. This initial agreement took effect in February 2022 and is valid until December of next year, unless replaced by a new agreement. A more detailed agreement was anticipated for the next phase of the project. Under the new agreement signed by Biden, communication, exchange of sensitive information, and the expansion of the cooperation between the governments by enabling the transfer of naval nuclear propulsion plants of conventionally armed nuclear-powered submarines, including component parts and spare parts thereof and other related equipment, would be permitted. They say the U.S. and UK could send nuclear waste to Australia under AUKUS. According to a legislative probe investigating nuclear safety regulations, the AUKUS contract might make Australia a poison portal. What's that mountain here? Mount Yucca? Yucca Mountain, is that where they store all the nuclear waste here? Pat Labor, good to see you. I think you're new around these parts. When did hurricanes stop dying when it hits land? Well, I mean, they slow down because the hurricanes feed off the warm water. I think of it like a race car, right? You got warm water, which is great, but then you put some hot water in there. It's like nitrous. It just makes it more fueled. So that's a good question. All life on planet is ended. The variables are complete. We're getting there. I mean, if we stand up in mass, we could stop it, but people want to vote their way out of it, so we'll see what happens. New regulations establishing a safety framework for Australia's proposed nuclear-powered subs may also allow the U.S. and the UK to bring garbage there, as both nations are struggling to deal with their own waste due to lack of long-term high-level waste disposal facilities. And no offense to my Aussie friends, but we're a penal colony. So, I mean, this kind of slap in the face, I mean, are you really surprised? If the Australian Naval Nuclear Power Safety Bill launched last November is enacted, it will establish a nuclear safety watchdog and allow for the construction of naval nuclear propulsion facilities, including those for storing and disposing of radioactive waste from AUKUS submarines. A second law authorizing the regulator to grant licenses was proposed at the same time. Though you don't have to throw a shrimp on the Barbie, that shit's already nuclear. It's probably already cooked. Why is this not working? Why are you being this way? And finally, in oh shit news for the United States, another country is saying the dollar, holla. I was trying to be hip. That more hip replacement. African country adopts de-dollarization roadmap. So Zimbabwe aims to make a new gold-backed currency the sole legal tender ahead of a 2030 timeline. That smells like somebody needs some democracy. Uh-oh. Zimbabwe's government has approved a roadmap to transition from using U.S. dollars to the gold-backed ZiG currency, or ZiG, which was introduced several months ago in an effort to stabilize the Southern African country's economy. Information Minister Jenfan Mosweri announced that Announced the move during a media briefing on Tuesday following a cabinet meeting in the capital, Harare, on modalities to operationalize ZIG as legal tender for use in the economy. A de-dollarization roadmap is now in place with a time frame as presented by the Minister of Finance, Economic Development, and Investment Promotion, the minister told reporters. Zimbabwe has relied heavily on the U.S. dollar amid a currency crisis that has persisted for more than a decade. The greenback currently accounts for around 70% of all economic transactions, Bloomberg reported, citing data from the country's central bank. ZIG! Very good. Good for Africa, man. More and more of these countries, like we said, we mentioned BRICS, the alternative economic system with Russia and India and China. It's gaining steam, and I think you're going to see more and more of these small countries in Africa, in particular, who are tired of being colonized and having all their shit stolen from them, are starting to balls up and like, yeah, well, fuck you and your dollar, man. So, good for them. Congratulations. I hope it works out, but watch out. Democracy's coming. You know that for sure. You know what else is coming? Some bullshit from the IDF. These motherfuckers.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these things as if they are true without checking facts first. Unfortunately, some members of media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is on the tweeters here from the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces. They always have these entertaining posts. I just I don't understand it. Why they're so good. So of course they always talking shit. For the past 10 months, you've been hearing about attacks from Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. Triple H. I don't know why they're not going with Triple. If I was Hamas, I'd tell Hezbollah and Houthis. Triple H, man. Let's go with that. But ultimately, they all point back to one source. You guessed it. No, it's not Russia. Of course, it's Iran. Iran so far away. Let's listen to this propagandist motherfucker. 2 minutes, 38 seconds. Sorry, I watched it. You gotta watch it too.
What's happening in the Middle East and who is behind the rise in tensions? I'm here to break it down. We have been fighting a multi-front war for the past 10 months. It includes all of Iran's terrorist proxies. October 7th, the day that the Iranian-backed Hamas terrorist organization started a war by invading southern Israel and causing generational damage by murdering over 1,200 and abducting 251
that was mostly
more,
IDF.
Including women, children, and babies. October 8th, the Iran-backed Hezbollah in Lebanon decided it was their time to follow suit. Since then, Hezbollah has fired around 7,000 rockets, missiles, and explosive UAVs at Israel. In one of these attacks recently, Hezbollah murdered 12 children in Majid Shams massacre, where the terrorist group fired an Iranian rocket in a soccer field full of children playing on a Saturday evening. Justice was served when we eliminated Fuad Shukr, Hezbollah's most senior military commander.
That was Israeli shitty rockets, by the way. That wasn't, anyway.
With the blood of thousands on his hands, who was the mastermind behind not only the Majid Shams massacre, but thousands of attacks against Israelis, Americans, and many others throughout the last 4 decades. And how about the Iranian-backed Houthis? For months, the Houthis have been attacking international shipping routes in the Red Sea, disrupting trade. On July 19th, this terrorist organization from Yemen launched a spontaneous long-range Iranian drone at Tel Aviv and killed a civilian in the resulting strike. In response to their hundreds of attacks, our fighter jets precisely struck Houthi military targets in the area of the El Hudaydah port in Yemen. This port is the main entry point for Iran to arm its terror proxies, the Houthis. For the most part, Iran has played the role of puppet master behind its proxies, funding.
Like Israel isn't a puppet, or the United States. They're both puppets. There's masters for both of these people.
Arming, directing them in their attacks on Israel and other Western targets in the Middle East. But on April 14th, Iran took center stage when in just one night, they fired over 350 ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and attack UAVs from Iranian soil. The story writes itself. Hamas
No, the story doesn't write itself. You write the story.
Attacks. Hezbollah attacks. The Houthis attack. Iran itself attacks. And when Iran or one of its proxies attack, we defend ourselves and strike back. If anyone threatens or attacks our civilians, we will not idly stand by. For years, Iran has publicly stated their goal to destroy the state of Israel by any means necessary. Just like any other country would, we will defend ourselves and respond as necessary.
Yes, by killing children and blowing up hospitals and schools. Yeah, that's how you do it. You piece of shit. And finally, in our propaganda watch, I thought this was interesting. I don't know who Carl Zah is. I don't know if you're a fan of him or not. I don't really care. But I thought this was interesting. So he said, of course, The Economist digitally erased the Palestinian flag from its cover. All right. So this is, you see here, there's a Palestinian flag, and there's a communist flag over here too, right? This is a communist flag, right? But on their cover, oh no, look at that. The flag's gone, and then the communist thing dropped. So one poster said, well, that's not the same picture, right? What I think had happened, I don't think they digitally edited this. I think what they did, they waited. They took several photographers. You're not going to take one picture, okay? You're sitting there just like, it's almost like a video camera at this point. These DSLRs, you're just rolling on it, right? And so there was the initial, and I'm sure others took pictures of this too, with with the flag in it, and then I'm pretty sure the Economist just waited for them to take down those flags. Or they could have digitally taken them out. I mean, I don't know. It looks like this guy's holding something here, but he's really holding on to his leg. It looks like he may have been holding on. Like if you go up here, you see he's like up here holding on to this. It just seems like, I don't know why they would draw it back, both of those and not any of these other flags. It's just kind of wild there. So that's why I say, always, especially in this day and age with deep fakes and stuff like that, audio is almost practically perfect of other people. The good AIs, not these shitty ones that you see online that might work. And we're talking about the professional ones that are going to be used, if not already being used, for propaganda purposes. All right. Oh my God, it's 10:30. These shows keep getting longer and longer, but I just want to give you so much news. Carl Zah is prophetic. He denies Russia and China's support for Israel over the last 50 years. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, at least he pointed that out. It's kind of wild. Finally, this is like a little lanyap for myself. I wanted to do this because I'm originally I was born here in Chicago, but I grew up on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and I used to go to New Orleans when I was old enough to drive. I was head down to New Orleans. I love New Orleans. This was pre-Katrina, obviously, way back in the days. And it was only like 90 minutes to get down there. You get on the interstate, boom, you're right there, right? But now, and we were always talking about, man, they should have like some sort of shuttle train, like between Florida and New Orleans that stops in Mississippi. You just hop on the train and you just go to New Orleans, right? You don't have to drive because, you got to pay for parking down there just like in any other big city. And trying to find parking that where you don't get your car destroyed from being broken in is kind of a mean feat these days in the city of New Orleans. So, and please don't say New Orleans. Don't Yankeefy yourself. It's New Orleans. New Orleans. Like Orlins. Say it like that, and the locals will be like, hey, you're all right for a Yankee. But now there is that dream's going to come true for the Gulf Coast. I'm very happy for my peeps down there. So new Mobile to New Orleans Amtrak route will include stops in 4 Mississippi Gulf Coast cities. Yeah, so it's not from Florida, but Mobile is right across the border from South Mississippi there, right across the bay, actually. A 6-0 vote Tuesday by the City Council in Mobile, Alabama, has set the stage for Amtrak passenger trains to roll from New Orleans to Mobile next year. The Sun Herald, that's a paper out of Biloxi, reports that the Mobile Council voted to fund the passenger train service for 3 years. The funding had already been approved in Mississippi and Louisiana. Amtrak's projected start date for the service is spring 2025. It is uncertain whether it can begin before the Super Bowl is played in New Orleans on February 9th. I think everybody wants to get this running by the Super Bowl, Knox Ross, chairman of the Southern Rail Commission, said, the interstate organization promoting rail transportation, but they can't guarantee it. Platforms are ready in New Orleans and in Mississippi cities of Bay St. Louis, Gulfport, Biloxi, and Pascagoula, but a platform still has yet to be built in Mobile. And if you've ever been to a Mobile Mardi Gras parade, you may have been pelted with a moon pie or two. And if you had, congratulations, they're very tasty in limited proportions. You don't want to eat a whole bunch of fucking moon pies. Yeah, so anyway, I've kept you long enough. You guys have been great. Appreciate all you guys showing up for the show. If you're watching this later, appreciate you as well. Again, apologies to the Rumble folks if you had to come over here and watch it. I don't know what happened with Rumble. Rumble is just too fickle. So just be careful when you're streaming on Rumble. Rumble likes to do whatever Rumble likes to do. Again, we got our friend the Willie Bragg show tonight. Of his show, the Willie Bragg Show, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, and then Around the World, D and Friends at 9 p.m. Eastern, both on the YouTubers. Make sure you check those out. Teresa said, when I hear New Orleans, I think of the now pricey historical gunshot homes. Oh, you're talking about the shotgun shacks? Is that what you're talking about? They used to be super cheap because only poor people could afford them, and now even poor people can't afford them. Thank you, Teresa, and thanks everybody for watching. We're gonna be back here on Monday. Might do some gaming this weekend. I know I threatened to do that last weekend, but that did not materialize. We'll see about this weekend. And just so people can see, this is Heisenberg. Yes, I am the danger. Which reminded me of this Rosenberg's commercial from New Orleans. Speaking of New Orleans, it says Rosenberg's, 1824, Tulane. So if you're a New Orleans local and you're old as dirt like me, you remember that commercial. So anyway, I appreciate all y'all. Love you. Stay safe. Don't drink the Kool-Aid or the Flavor-Aid. Stay out of the cults. Don't chase clout. Be cool. And don't associate with creepy people or liars and other nefarious people that you know of. Keep those people in check. We'll see you next time. Peace.
This is City Alpha 5. Woo! Damn good song, wasn't it, dog? You like that song? All right.